We're all told this story that love and connection are things that just happen to us. But what if there's a whole other way to look at it? An approach that's way less about luck and a lot more about choice. Today, we're going to dig into a really provocative idea that connection is actually an art, a strategy, maybe even a science. So, right off the bat, this is the big question we're tackling. Is finding that connection with someone really just a roll of the dice? A happy accident? Or could there be something way more active, more intentional going on behind the scenes? I mean, just think about it for a second. Every movie we watch, pretty much every song we hear, it all reinforces this idea. And it's a really comforting thought, isn't it? This idea that love is some kind of mystical force that's just going to find us when the time is right, without us having to do much at all. But the source we're looking at today offers a pretty radical alternative. It suggests that connection isn't something we just sit around and wait for. It's actually something we can create by really understanding the art and psychology of how people interact. It's a huge shift from being a passive bystander to being an active participant in your own life. And this right here really breaks down the two opposing views. On one side, you've got the classic romantic. They see love as this sacred, magical thing. It just happens. But on the other side, you have what our source calls the seducer, someone who sees connection as a game of psychology and strategy, a kind of recipe for creating charm. Wow, this quote really nails the core difference, doesn't it? Now look, warfare is a super strong word, and it might sound a little aggressive, but the point here isn't about conflict. It's about having a strategy, having intention. It's about taking an active role instead of just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. It's a total reframing of how we approach connection. So, if this approach can be so effective, why does it make a lot of us feel a little, uncomfortable? Why do we kind of push back against the idea of being strategic in something as personal as love? Well, the source has a very specific answer for that. The biggest thing holding us back from adopting this mindset isn't that we lack skill or charm. Nope, it's something way deeper, something that's baked into our culture. And there you have it. The obstacle is our own belief system. It's this deep-seated idea we all have that romance should be pure and unplanned and totally magical. This foolish prejudice, as the author puts it, is what stops us from even seeing the psychological mechanics that are at play. Okay, so this is super important. We need to define what our source actually means by a seducer in this context. This is not about being a bad person or a manipulator. It's about being a student of human nature. This person plans, they strategize, and they really try to understand what makes other people tick. They get that attraction is fundamentally about psychology, not just about how you look. To even begin to adopt this mindset, the very first thing you have to change isn't what you do, it's how you see. It all comes down to where you point your attention. I mean, let's be real. In most social situations, we're totally stuck in our own heads, right? We're constantly thinking, how do I look? What am I going to say next? Do they like me? Was that a weird thing to say? Our focus is almost 100% inward on ourselves. The strategic connector, on the other hand, just flips that whole flow on its head. All their attention, all their energy, their entire focus is directed outward onto the other person. They become genuinely curious about what makes that person tick, what they want, what they're missing. And making that shift in focus is incredibly empowering. Like Nietzsche suggests here, what feels good is what increases our sense of our own power. And there is just an immense amount of power in truly understanding another person, in seeing the world through their eyes instead of being trapped in your own. It's a totally different kind of power, one that's based on empathy and real connection. So let's just break down this outward focus a little bit. This is way more than just listening. It's about actually trying to see the world from their perspective. It's about studying what makes them unique, their vulnerabilities, their hidden desires, the things they need that they might not even say out loud. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to connect on that deeper level, with the goal of creating a sense of trust and comfort that naturally lowers their resistance. And this is absolutely a key takeaway. The source is crystal clear on this. This is a skill you can learn. It has nothing to do with being the best-looking person in the room. It has everything to do with being the most observant and the most psychologically in tune. So how does this all actually work? Well, the path to enchantment, as our source calls it, is basically a 3-step process. First, you just observe and understand. Second, you adapt your approach based on what you've learned about them. And third, if you do it right, the effect actually feels magical to the other person because they feel so deeply seen and understood, maybe for the first time. And this beautiful quote just ties it all together perfectly. The magic and enchantment we all associate with romance, maybe it isn't an accident after all. Maybe it's the result of someone feeling so captivated, so understood that they willingly just surrender to that feeling. And that, the source argues, is what love really is. Which, of course, leaves us with the final and most important question. Is all of this just a cynical, manipulative tactic? Or is it simply the most profound form of attention you can possibly give to another human being? Maybe the real answer depends on your intention. Is your goal to control someone for your own benefit, or is it to create a genuine connection that's so deep, it feels like magic? That's the fascinating tension at the heart of this whole idea, and it's definitely something to think about.